My name is Catrin Morgan and I'm doing the Book Arts residency at Women's Studio Workshop. Since my MA I did a PhD and I'm looking at expanded ways of using illustration, doing slightly more than it's commonly expected to do, so maybe sitting alongside a piece of writing and subverting it, or in the case of critical writing, maybe sometimes carrying the weight of the argument where you might expect the writing to be doing that. Cassiopeia is a collective that I set up with a group of 4 other artists who all also have backgrounds in both fine art and illustration. Part of my work for Cassiopeia has been designing display structures and designing the publicity for the group. And we already had 2 exhibition spaces lined up that were very big, and I was worried about negotiating that quiet, small piece of work with these vast exhibition spaces. So I started thinking about building display structures, and that's when I started looking at St. Jerome in his study and thinking about making building spaces for the work that were contemplative spaces that were accessible to the public but also closed off areas where they could just be intimate with the work or have a degree of intimacy with the work. Actually, while I was thinking about Cassiopeia and designing the publicity and the display structures for Cassiopeia, I ended up in the National Gallery waiting for some friends and went to visit my round of paintings, and one of them is St. Jerome in his study by Antonello da Messina, where the saint is sitting in this quite weird contemporary looking study space that almost looks like it's been built out of MDF. My initial thought was, I want to build that structure, and then I did a bit more research and realised that loads of people have built that structure. And so then I started thinking, okay, well if that's not such an interesting thing to do, maybe there are other things that I could be doing. So when I started researching that painting, I came across other paintings of St. Jerome in his study, and I could see there are certain things that keep coming back, like the saint's study always has archways in it and sloping desks and wedge-shaped book holders, and so I started thinking about what the sort of typology of St. Jerome's study was and what elements you would always need to build one. The book's called Studies for Studies, and it's an analysis of 15 or 16 paintings of St. Jerome in his study that I've been researching for the last 2 years. One part of the book is an essay that sort of takes on those ideas of what happens when you study a painting in that way and take it apart and put it back together again and just keep looking and looking back at it and what happens to your thinking about that painting. The other thing that I've been interested in all along with the St. Jerome work is St. Jerome translated the Bible into Latin, and so studying the painting and running it through a series of translations, so taking standard perspective and making isomorphic projections instead. Those images were images that I made to publicise Cassiopeia, and Max Porter, who's a friend of mine and a writer, saw them. He said, I want to do some writing about those images, and that was at the time that I was looking at the application for here, so I started to think, okay, this could all be a book.